Kenny Omega gives his thoughts on his New Japan return, and could this AEW versus WWE dream match actually happen? But first, let's get to the quickfire headlines, as according to Fightful Select, AEW World Champion MJF will return to television on the upcoming episode of Dynamite, which happens tomorrow night in Broomfield, Colorado. This will be Max's first in-arena appearance since his title defense against Ricky Starks 2 weeks ago, before fleeing the scene after being confronted by Bryan Danielson, his next challenger. 2023 will see big changes to the presentation of All Elite Wrestling television, with a new look coming to Dynamite and Rampage. AEW President Tony Khan would speak on the Grapsody podcast this week, where he provided some insight into the upcoming changes that are set to take place on the January 4th episode of Dynamite, and said, "The wrestling is going to be the same great wrestlers and the same great fans, but it's in a new city, Seattle, and the look, the changes to the set, and the presentation are going to be changes that we're going to keep. I'm really looking forward to the new look for the show. I find in wrestling, when you overpromise, you can disappoint people. It's a set and a presentation. At the end of the day, the most important thing is what the fans bring, what the wrestlers and the staff of AEW and the crew bring every week. But the look of the show is important too, and it's going to look really cool." According to Fightful Select, current AAA Tag Team Champions, FTR, could be set to drop their Mexican titles sooner rather than later, or at least that's the belief within the AEW locker room. At one point, Dax and Cash would hold the ROH, IWGP, and AAA belts, although they are down to just 2 after losing the Ring of Honor straps to the Briscoes at Final Battle, with them perhaps set to drop down to just 1 belt with the New Japan Tag Gold, which they will defend at Wrestle Kingdom on January 4th. FTR have held the belts for over a year now, but have only ever defended it 4 times, only twice in AAA, with the other 2 defenses happening on AEW television. Bray Wyatt would finally compete in the ring last night for the first time since his WWE return in September 2022, this during a house show at Madison Square Garden. Whilst he has appeared regularly on SmackDown, he is yet to actually wrestle and would only ever be involved in talking segments until now. Bray would find himself across the ring from Jinder Mahal, who had issued an open challenge to the locker room before Bray eventually put him away for the win. This is Bray's first wrestling match altogether since April 2021, where The Fiend would lose to Randy Orton at WrestleMania 37. And speaking of WWE house shows, last night WWE would hold 2 consecutive events, one in New York City and another in Columbus, Ohio. Despite 2 events being booked on the night, there was no live edition of Monday Night Raw, with the company instead airing a best of 2022 edition of Raw, showing WWE highlights from throughout the year. As for why there wasn't a television show, according to Fightful Select, WWE wanted to give production staff extra time off, as live events only require a skeleton crew and far less people than the live television tapings would require. The report also revealed that the Columbus event saw 4 scheduled superstars miss the show due to travel issues, with Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, and Alexa Bliss all unable to attend, with it being described as a logistical mess. Now let's get back to the Tony Khan Grapsody interview, where he would be asked about the AEW departure of Cody Rhodes, who joined WWE in April 2022. Khan would talk of the impact that the former EVP leaving had on the company, something he described as a major challenge to overcome, and Khan would say, "It was certainly, whenever you lose a star the caliber of Cody Rhodes, it's going to have a major impact on your company and affect a number of different departments, a number of different things in terms of the presentation and the backstage. Personally, I really like Cody and I know Cody really well, and he was so involved in so many different facets with the start of AEW and what we were. When he left, that was a major challenge. Going into Revolution, we had so many great stories, and I think it helped us and helped keep us strong that people were so invested in what was happening in AEW at the time." And speaking of Cody Rhodes, he is currently out of action following surgery to repair a torn pectoral muscle suffered earlier this year, with his return to WWE television likely just around the corner. Speaking in a pre-taped video on last night's episode of Raw, Cody would discuss a recently rumored rematch with Seth Rollins, something that for now doesn't appear to be on his radar, and Cody would say, "Make no mistake about it, Seth and I are not chummy, we're not best friends, but Seth Rollins is one of the top 3 wrestlers in the world. 3 matches, not just 1, but 3 matches was an honor. Again, we're not best friends. We don't exchange Christmas cards, but there's a bond by battle there with Seth and myself. I know he's probably clamoring for a 4th match, but I don't know if that's on my radar." Shinsuke Nakamura would speak with Yahoo Sports this week, where he discussed the upcoming match with retiring wrestling legend Great Muta, which will take place on a Pro Wrestling Noah show on January 1st. Nakamura would reveal how the idea was initially turned down under the previous WWE regime, before it was later approved after Vince McMahon stepped down, and he would say, "Noah came to me with the idea and we discussed it, but the answer was no. Vince McMahon stepped down in the summer, and I was advised by people within the company that it might be possible now. I still thought it would be difficult, and I even talked directly to Triple H. When the decision was actually made, I was shook." There was a big change in the WWE between when Muta announced his retirement and when the match was made official. Vince, who was the head of everything WWE, was retiring, and that was something that no one could believe. Everything changes in America when the top changes. At that time, there was a feeling that many things would change in the future. One of the changes that happened to me was this. And next up, Kenny Omega gives his thoughts on his New Japan return. Kenny Omega will make his New Japan Pro Wrestling return at Wrestle Kingdom on January 4th, with him set to challenge Will Ospreay for the IWGP United States Championship. The former IWGP Heavyweight Champion would speak on the NJPW YouTube channel this week to discuss his return to the company and would say, "My return to the Tokyo Dome is supposed to be astronomical. This is supposed to be a celebration, a real homecoming. For all of you fans, wrestlers that have struggled for so long through this difficult time, and I understand that you guys have struggled with this for years now. I know what you're thinking, that I mean the struggle with the pandemic. The struggle that I'm talking about is the struggle that you guys had to incur without me running the ship. Without Kenny Omega running the show, there's been an absolute lack of charisma, an absolute lack of magic, an absolute lack of eyeballs watching the product. We need people watching, talking, discussing." The match will be Omega's first in New Japan since the 2019 Tokyo Dome show, where he would lose the IWGP Heavyweight Championship to Hiroshi Tanahashi in the main event. As for Ospreay, his United States title reign will have surpassed the 200-day mark by the time January 4th comes around, with him finally set to share the ring with the Cleaner in a singles match for the first time. And before we continue, be sure to subscribe to Wrestle Planet with notifications turned on so you don't miss the latest wrestling news, and as we head closer to the 50,000 subscriber mark. Oh, and make sure you check out the brand new 10 hottest free agents video that we released earlier today, which I'll leave in the end screen. And next, could this AEW vs WWE Dream match actually happen? Jade Cargill has burst onto the scene of All Elite Wrestling, with her being the reigning and first AEW TBS champion, remaining undefeated during her 19 months in the company. Taking to Twitter this week, Cargill would open up a Q&A with fans where she asked for questions to help pass the time during a flight, and Jade would tweet, "I'll answer 10 questions because I'm flying. Make them good. Humor me. I promise I have thick skin." This would lead to a question from a fan who would ask about Jade's AEW TBS Championship and potential future opponents from other promotions, and they would write, "If you could defend your title against any female wrestlers outside of AEW you have never faced before, who would it be and why?" Cargill would reply with a talent from WWE, naming a 15-time singles champion, and Jade would write, "Charlotte Flair, because she can go." Flair would then respond to the tweet a couple days later with some kind words for her fellow wrestler and said, "Keep killing it, Queen, #undefeated." Whether the match would eventually be able to happen remains to be seen, although it would likely require either Cargill to jump to WWE or for Charlotte to head to AEW, unless by some miracle the promotions start working with each other. But would you like to see Jade Cargill battle Charlotte Flair somewhere down the line? Let me know in the comments down below. And before you go, make sure you check out the 10 hottest free agents in wrestling today.